Hello, everyone. Karen Glasser here, and I am with energy healer Bernadette Davies. She's the founder of Agape Holistic Retreat on the island paradise of St. Maarten, where she leads small groups in the connecting of body, mind, and spirit. And I just love that. I love that. We're going to be talking about a lot of the different things that people can experience when they go to the Agape Holistic Retreat. And the first thing that I'd like to chat with you about is about the Emissary Wheel. What is that exactly?
Thank you very much for having me on your show. And I'm so happy and grateful to talk about the Emissary Wheel as the mainstay of everything we do at Agape Holistic Retreat. It is sacred geometry at its best. We form a beautiful wheel that is 12-pointed star within, and it has another triangle inside, and it represents the male and the female essence. On a broader scale, it is a raised, amplified field of energy. So we put our wishes and our hopes into the wheel as we're creating it, and it's co-created with everyone who comes to Agape. So we will take a stone, a beautiful shell, and we put it close to our heart, and we put our intentions in it, and we work with sound, and that creates a field of energy, much like when you go to a special sacred space and you can feel it and it feels really different. This is what's happened. And for most of the time around our weekend, we spend our energy around the wheel, and it raises our field, and it's something that's felt, Karen.
That's really interesting. And I know that this is created each time at each one of your retreats. So you're not like reusing an emissary wheel. So this is actually created each time. So, you know, I'm sure that you've been asked this question before. Is it safe?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's very organic. We do it over an evening. And as the evening gets a little darker outside and the stars are showing, and we have beautiful music, which is peace prayers, and we sing them together, and we go through all the nations. And we do pick 12 significant nations that we sing. Their prayers are very short but meaningful, and that energy is put into the wheel. So it's more of a oneness, a global oneness.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. So let's talk a little bit about the gatherings at Agape Holistic Retreat. I mean, what do they look like?
Well, people join us on the island. They're met by myself off the airplane and greeted, and we have a little tour back to the villa. It's a secure villa, and when we arrive, we have a chance just to unwind, and it's a Thursday. Sometimes they come early. They might come as early as a Sunday and settle in for a week. They can have private treatments in advance. We always have 3 facilitators. Some of them are in person, some of them are Skyped in, depending on their availability, and they're all mind, body, spirit. So so that's the beginning of it. And actually Thursday is the Emissary Wheel, and we build that together.
That's lovely. So do you encourage families to go together?
We can have families. In fact, it's very interesting. It's very organic. The space is big. We have a kids camp that's created for those when they do come.
Nice.
And the kids go off and they do their thing while we're having lectures and we're doing some of the work. Some of the things like the Emissary Wheel is co-created with children. And they're right there, and they know much more than you could imagine. They get into it. It's all about alignment. So they really enjoy the parallels with creating the lines and the circles. It's quite lovely.
So who else might partake at the retreat?
We have all guests from all over the world come, first of all, and the facilitators come from all over the world. So sometimes we have book authors that come in as a facilitator. Myself as an energy worker, I'm always working with chakra alignment. It depends on who's there. Sometimes it's mud, and we have the owner of the mud company will come in, or if we're focused on water, we'll be having the owner of the water company that we're dealing with. We have essential oils. Sometimes there's demonstrations and work what we do in that regard.
So I'm sure that corporate teams would benefit from this.
Very much so, because it's so relaxed. First of all, it's team building. We're working together as a group, even though it's not per se, scribed that way. It's very, very relaxed and natural. But there's a place for everybody, and you become quite aware of those that are around you and very respectful, and there's no judgment involved. but yet together we're working on building the Emissary Wheel. We have so much fun as we slather ourselves with mud on each and every retreat. Top to bottom, we cover ourselves up with mud, and this is more mud that's teeming with energy, and it's vibrant with minerals, and it's quite lovely. So we smear each other, and if there's some people that have missed some spots, men and women alike, just love it.
It sounds it sounds exciting, it sounds interesting, and it sounds messy, actually. It sounds like a great thing for like a group of friends to go and do.
Yeah, well, you're talking about corporate as well. This is a really great thing for each other to be seen, and to all be on the same page and really doing some fun things together that are raising each other's energy. And there's some real great team building that comes through that.
So I know that you incorporate raw food into the retreats. What is raw food? I think of raw food. I've never had it before, but I think of raw food and I think of like carrots. That's what I think of. So what is raw food?
Well, raw food is raw. So we have some warmed food as well. So we would have, let's say we'll start with a lentil soup, and it's a warm soup. It's very rich and lovely. There aren't any creams and dairies. We really just work with the vegetables and a good vegetable stock. And I'll give you an example. One of the meals that we start off with is a taco salad. So the whole table is layered. It's an outdoor meal, and we sit at a very long harvest table, and we have lettuce, and we have avocados, and we have tomatoes and carrots and everything. Guests have a lot of fun because the carrots are julienned really finely, and it's like the cheese that goes on top that is not the cheese.
Right.
But the focus really with the raw food and drinks that are smoothies that are vegetable based, and then separately fruit. It's teeming with micronutrients and filling the body up with liquids, first of all, because most people that come are dehydrated. So we drink a lot of really good restructured water. And the food is very tasty, but you're right, it is raw. There isn't, because it's not cooked, it's readily available to the body to be digested. And
is this right for everyone? I mean, can everyone be sustained and have the sustenance that they need when they go on a raw food diet?
They can, and in fact, we do, lentil balls that are warm, and they can be on top of things, and we do some things. And I do work with people if they feel they're not quite ready for that, then we shift things as well. So it's very fun the way that it turns out, because often all those that meet with a common thread. So I never get too excited about it. And I say, you're coming in at this space, and this is what's right for you. And if you feel it, that's what's important. And then you might find at another retreat, you're ready to go in a little deeper. And what we're doing is detoxifying the body. We're ridding the body of inflammation, and a good 86% of everyone's body has inflammation in it. So that's from the stressors. It's all environmental.
I have heard that, and you've already mentioned about the mud, the more mud spa treatments. Let's talk a little bit more about that. And like, where exactly is it? Mud? I mean, I live in Northern California, and we're near Calistoga, where they have mud baths as well.
Okay.
And, I've thought about doing that and going to a mud bath, but I'm always curious as to really what's in the mud, and is it safe? Is it clean? Is it okay for lots of the same people sitting in the same mud?
Yes. Well, I've researched mud, and mud's been part of my life with my children and my family, and extended outward with clients. I've chosen this particular Moor mud. It's black oxygen. It's very good. It is teeming with oxygen. It goes into your body. So one of the things that I work with also is essential oils. And when we're changing our diet, we, look ahead of time. And when we are doing the mud, there really isn't anything preparatory. There's nothing in terms of a safety issue. It is organic. It's bottled. It's shipped. It comes from Canada. And the gentleman that owns the company, he is right on side with me, and he helps, and we ship the stuff together. Very supportive of Agape. We'll be coming to be a facilitator for Agape as well.
Nice.
And you meet the people behind the products that we choose at Agape. And in essence, Karen, it is fulvic acid that's going into your body. And the mud is comprised of humic acid. And within the humic acid, there's a high content of fulvic acid. And this is what assists to help with inflammation in the body. And it's teeming with minerals, so your body gets just an incredible amount naturally in through the pores, and we drink it. There's a special kind, it tastes like iced tea, and it's a part of the line. There's exfoliants, and we can do mud wraps as well, which is we wrap you in plastic after applying the mud so that the oxygen, it goes into your body just a little deeper.
That is that. So I'm sure that when people experience this and they actually do this, they want to know, can I take this home with me? So is this something that can be taken home, shipped, whatever?
Absolutely. Yeah. I ship it into the island. When I'm in Canada, I have it here, and I'm speaking to you from Canada today. Yes, it's readily available.
That's very, very cool. Let's talk a little bit about energy therapy.
Sure.
Okay. And what it is and how it's done and all that interesting.
Okay. Well, when you come to Agape, we start in the morning with chakra alignment. Mm-hmm. My energy therapy that I'm working with is sound and frequency, as well as I use my hands and I use my body as a tool. So we sound, and through sound and attention, so what you're thinking about, there's automatic healing. And that's something that I've learned over the last 30 years, that works every time with every person. Mm-hmm. So when you raise your body is comprised of your whole physical body has different frequencies within your body. So your liver and your kidneys, your organs and whatnot. And in short, we're actually bringing up the level of the body's energy through sound. And I focus on some tools with chakra alignment and some guided meditations that are done each day. And through that, you feel better. And you start to find your feeling place, and you start to be more aware of your own self instead of looking to your neighbor or to your family members for what the decisions are that might be in your best interest. We learn to look at our own highest consciousness and ask our highest consciousness, what's in my best good? And it would be unique for each and every person.
So how do you know it's working? How do you know that your chakras are aligned?
Well, you know it in the feeling. And clients want to do it again, and it becomes part of their life. And every day, and I send home the tools to do this. So that when you come to Agape, you're going to experience it. It's going to become part of a pattern after a long weekend. Mm-hmm. The feeling is going to feel incredible. And it doesn't matter what age you are. You know, my 10-year-old son can do it, and he does it with ease and grace. And he feels better.
It sounds amazing, actually. Yeah. It sounds really amazing. I've done a little bit of work with chakra, but nowhere, obviously, I'm not an expert. It's just something I've dabbled with, and it seems like something that I would want to do when I come to visit you at the retreat. Let's talk about you, and let's talk about your experience and how you come to this. I know you're certified and all this. So tell us a little bit about you and your background.
Sure. Well, I've experienced, like very many other around the globe, lots of stressors in my life. And I nearly died 3 times. And I learned coping mechanisms of how to navigate my life. And I know I've had, I work with spirit, and I hear, and I'm gifted to see as well, spirit. So I really am kind of in a different realm, but not really. So that's my guiding force. And I give a lot of gratitude for that. And when I decided at about 46 that I wanted to package together some of the tools that I have, and what am I going to do with it? I'm going to change my location. I'm going to move somewhere different. I've lived in many different places, but my body seems to do real well with the heat, and I bet you there's others. So that's where Agape comes from. Agape is the highest level of love. And then I have foundations in anthroposophy and theosophy. Karen, what that does for me is it helps me understand nature and how nature affects my body and how I tune into my higher consciousness, and I can teach that to others. So in short, Agape is finding your own self-love.
What I love about this is that you are so well schooled, but not just in the traditional way. You are schooled in so many of the other ways that the people, when they come to visit you, they're going to get the whole package. Yeah. They're not just, because the next thing I want to talk about is Kundalini chanting and yoga and Pilates and breath work. I mean, you really do a lot of different things there. So let's just start with, and I hope I'm saying this correctly, Kundalini?
Kundalini, yes.
Kundalini chanting. What is that? And why should we do it?
Yeah, Kundalini is Indian. It's Ayurvedic, and there are sequences just like with sacred geometry. There's a math to it. It's a science, and it's science and spirit coming together. So you feel different in its presence. And the Emissary Wheel is a place where we will sit around. So when we're doing yoga, we'll have our yoga mats in front of the wheel, and we'll feel this wonderful raised energy. The same thing with Kundalini. We sit around the wheel and we chant a series of words that are sacred text, and they are Indian, and it is beautiful. I've been lucky enough to have a facilitator as a retreat facilitator, and she is a Kundalini yoga specialist. So we hear her voice in a recording. Sometimes she's present with us at a retreat, and it is absolutely incredible. She sounds like a bird. It's just, she sings just so beautifully with her accompaniment and music, and the gentleman that sings with her. And it's an experience. It's something that I could sit here and tell you, but really until you feel it, it is something so beautiful. We are in white to signify our purity. And we wear a white scarf on our head, which keeps the energy in our body. And our Kundalini energy is like a snake, comes up and comes back down in your body. So we tap that off, and we have a candle, and we sit in the evening to about an hour and a half of this chanting. And you don't really need to know it too much, but I give a little explanation of what the words are, so there's meaning behind it. And you just do it, and it's beautiful.
I wanted to say I'll be there. I'm on my way right now. So, I mean, I know that yoga and Pilates are part of what you can experience. Do people have to bring something special for that, or is this something that they can?
If they have a favorite yoga mat, they bring it. Okay. And that's kind of fun because they come off the airplane with their yoga mat and you know, their water shoes, because we do one excursion when we're together. We pack a lot in while we're together, but I really want it to be, and so do the facilitators. This is a deep experience, but this is very relaxed, and I want it to be simple. So everything you experience is my way of life. You're hanging out with me and what I do, and it brings incredible value to the body and the mind and the spirit. And there becomes a connection where your goals become defined.
It's lovely. It's lovely. So is the water different there?
Oh, it's beautiful. It's salty. It's warm. The island is 86 degrees. But, you know, I do retreats all over the globe too. So I'm working with someone right now to go to Australia. Some of them are private retreats and some of them are group retreats. And that's just what I do. I love it. I love pairing with other people, and we find facilitators. One of the expression is we do an awful lot of in-breaths. So we take information in and we physically do in-breaths. And we hold and we just allow that to absorb within our body. So how does it feel? What's coming up? We talk about, you know, the feelings and what's coming up within each person. And we don't coach each other. We just listen. We hold space for each other. And we hold space as each one being perfect. Because we all are perfect. We are. And I've actually experienced that, had the pleasure and the honor of experiencing that with you. In fact, we had done that before we actually get on camera, so that we are in the right space. And I think that is so, it's such a wonderful thing to do. I would like to be able to incorporate that into my daily life as well. It really makes a difference. Meditation. So tell me a little bit about meditation at the retreat. Do you have to know how to do it beforehand? Are you guided through it? How does that work? Those are great questions. Some people do have, you know, geez, can I do it? Of course you can do it. We learn that meditation is a way of life. It's a way of simplicity. So when we walk, and we walk with purpose, and we look at all of the elements around us, that's some of our guided meditation. So we'll look at the elements, the 5 elements, and, you know, we're looking at fire and water and expanse. We're looking at the wind. And we bring these in through a meditative state. And I guide you through that. And it literally brings in peace and love into your body, into your cells. And out goes the old. So a lot of stuff comes up to leave. And sometimes it's emotional. And we're just there to hold each other's space and to allow no judgment. Let it come up to leave so that we can be in our higher state. and then life becomes much easier. So that's what meditation for me is.
Would you say that this is part of this spiritual environment that we are going to experience when we go to the retreat?
Often I say that Agape Holistic Retreat is a spiritual haven of peace and awareness. Mm-hmm. So yes.
So absolutely, yes. That was yes. Okay, so you mentioned something a little bit earlier about Ayurvedic.
Yes.
And I'd like to talk a little bit about that. What is it, the ancient influence, and how that manifests itself in the retreat?
Well, I love the principles. It's not the only, but when we're around the Emissary Wheel and we're doing the peace prayers, it's all the nations. This is one very old, ancient way of life. And in that, there's so many beautiful things that we learn. And at certain retreats, and depending on the interest, I have an Ayurvedic master who comes, and she talks to us about our doshas. When I spoke about the elements, that's called your ojas, and that's something very beautiful where you really breathe in and take in your environment around you. So many of us are filled with stress-filled lives where we're going and going and going and going. We have a very small pause in between. But in the music and in frequency, one of the things that's really lovely is that there's a pause in between. And Ayurvedic teachings teach this, and it's very lovely. So it's food. Everyone has their predominant doshas. So there's 4 doshas. But in other ways of life, in my teachings with anthroposophy and theosophy, there are 4 predominant mannerisms, temperaments. And I noticed through all the different ways of life, they're the same, yet they're different. And so what it brings us all to is that, yes, I can see you and you can see me. And I might have a little difference, but I can bring to Agape what is beautiful to me. And we share those things around the wheel and become much more enriched.
So can you give us an example of how this would advance an Agape guest? I mean, how would this advance them?
Sure. I can give you an example of a guest that has come. She lived her life a certain way where she had the kind of foods that she ate and her culture. And when her doshas were read and she found out what her predominant the doshas help you understand not only your frame and how your body is set, what kind of relationships are in your best interest, what kind of foods are best for you. And she realized the food was right off the map. And she had an awful lot of allergies, and she had a lot of tummy problems. And so she dedicated herself to raw food. She went on 30 days, which is quite extreme. She lost a lot of weight, but it balanced itself back out, and she found her own biorhythms to be really in a lovely space.
Wow.
And she changed her food from all of her culture, and she adapted different foods. And so it's kind of like she hopped into a body, Karen, and yes, she's part of a beautiful family and a beautiful culture, but some of the things are just not right for her.
Exactly.
And we change as we go through life too. In our relationships and the stressors that we have in our life, we change. Often people that are vegan, and then they go back to eating other foods. And, we don't want to judge. It's right for everybody.
It sort of sounds like you're getting really in tune with every aspect of who you are spiritually, mind and body. It sounds like you're literally a tune-up, that's probably probably not the right word, but it sounds like we're tuning up our bodies. We are getting in tune and in balance with all the different things so they connect.
Well, that's really interesting because I have a commercial that runs, and when I speak about it, I'm saying attune, a tone, and a line. And that's really what it is.
Wow.
To attune your body, attone it, and align it with the body, mind, spirit means you're going to have more balance. And when you have more balance, the next step is to not know everything. And a lot of people have a tough time with that because we're schooled to know everything. But if for a moment, Karen, I can say, really, I know a lot, but today I'm going to say I don't really know that much. And through doing that, we're going to bring in more from the energies around us. Spirit's going to flow through us and things will present. But let me tell you, if you know everything, it's pretty hard to get in the door.
I can understand that. And in this fast-paced world that we live in, We tend to think that number one, not only do we know everything, we have to know everything.
Yeah.
Because otherwise we're going to be left behind.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's kind of unwinding what we've been taught. And for a long weekend, it's really lovely because people go home with more energy first off, and they can share some of the tools that they've learned with their family. And then they have a much more copacetic environment around.
Yeah, I can imagine. I can totally imagine. So how do we expand our awareness of our emotional guidance system at the retreat? How will that work?
Oh, how do you, you know what? It is a collective. So one of the things that we do is an adventure, and we go across a body of water, and this water is about up to your knees. We walk across it with the water shoes. That's where they come in, and we take our yoga mats on our back, and we go up to an island, and it's uninhabited. When we make it, it's towards the end of the stay. When we make it up this space, it takes us a little bit. It's craggy. And when we get there, it's like a big accomplishment. And we stand around and we hold hands and we tone with the sound of love, which is an ah sound. Ah! It comes from the heart. And science has deemed when we actually make this sound, it's a resonant chord between our heart and our head. And that becomes balance. It's very interesting. And that's one of the reasons why I use sound with chakras. When I get to the heart is really special for me. And that's where Agape comes from. And everything is really offered is a love. So these connectors are what you're talking about. That's how it happens. It's not something that's, here's the guide map and do all of these things. It's all that's done in the retreat enables you to open yourself up to self and self-awareness. And through that, everything flows with ease.
So, people are listening to this, they're watching this, and they're saying, okay, I think this is for me. What do they need, or do they not need anything special to just do it and take the step and join you?
Well, you're saying the words again. We're very connected. Just do it. Just do it. If it feels right, the universe will guide and will allow everything to be if you get out of the way. So I have a phrase, a tagline that says, put your mind on hold and let your world unfold. And that's what that means, is to just allow. And, your mind is a marvelous thing. We need our mind, and we talk when we're around the wheel about our passions and what we desire in our life. If we can allow things to show up in our life that maybe are not what we scribed, that could be the ticket of what's, your next venture. And if you're fearful of it and you find that there's incredible fear, and I have clients, come to me and, geez, I don't feel great. I feel really scared. And I'm saying, and this too, just allow it, because that will come and it will leave. But if you resist it, it'll hang on a little bit more. Just let it, just flow through it. Know that I'm here for you and you're just fine. And that's really what it is passing through that barrier of, it's called the terror barrier, passing through that terror barrier. On the other side, it's a big fake.
Wow.
There's nothing there.
There's nothing
and
there.
I've done it so many times, and I've really been on the brink of feeling like I'm not going to be alive anymore, that I'm going to lose everything. I've been in a situation where I've lost my home before and my car, and I've, gained everything back and then some with this attitude and with this way of life.
I've heard you refer to the third, fourth, and fifth dimension. What is that, and how does that relate to the Agape Retreat?
Well, it's living with the heart, and it's living with feminine essence, and it's living with oneness. So it starts with the feminine essence. That's the third, and it's a revival of all that has been in ancient teachings. And this culture in the last several hundred years, the women have been put aside, and it's been a male influenced environment, and we need the male, and the male needs the female. And in fact, I teach that we've been male and female in many lives. So, it's embracing the feminine aspect. And through that, there's just a wonderful, lovely nurturing. And it doesn't matter whether men or women show up. They love it. They love this feeling of the feminine, So we have things that are very beautiful. We wash feet. I get down on my knees and I wash the client's feet. And it's before we do the chakras, and it's in the morning. And this is a way that's been done for many, many years and many cultures. And it is really beautiful. It's quiet and it's lovely, and there's soft music, and it's first thing in the morning, and we start our day like that. So, to that, I add some essential oils that smell incredible. Men and women alike, they love them. And that actually goes through your feet, Karen. It raises your body fields. So it's a cumulative effect of what, with purpose, deliberate purpose, to offer the clients a different way, something different from fast-paced life, slowing down, and taking some old tools that are really, really helpful, and imbuing them in your life to see what happens and what comes up.
It sort of sounds like we're on a discovery of self.
Definitely.
Right? I mean,
Absolutely.
we're all the different pieces, and maybe not everything will resonate in that first time you come, but it's something to build on the next time and the next time and the next time.
Absolutely. And I have a really lovely mix of beautiful guests that come. I do have young women and men that are between the 20 and the 30-year-old range. And I have repeat clients coming back. And one young lady from Dallas, she came in and she had burned her foot before she arrived, and she was kind of hobbling. And I did some sound therapy with her. And a month later, she said that they peeled off the wound, and it ought to have been a mess underneath there. It was completely healed. Wow. And she attributed it to the sound therapy that we worked with together. And her doctor was completely amazed that this could have happened. So she's come back again for a second retreat. And in the first retreat, she looked at her business, and now she wants to do a little bit more deeper with a facilitator that's working with names and businesses, and how you can add value to the names and the numbers that come out of the names. And it's very interesting. I love working with people all over the globe. Because
I can see. I mean, and you know what, Bernadette, as people are watching this, they can see it. You're radiating right now. And your passion and your desire to help and to introduce people to things that may be fearful. And I can only imagine that because I know when I first met you, we've known each other for a while now. Each time we talk, I get a little more comfortable with what this all is. And I consider myself a spiritual person. It's not that. It's just, some of these things are not what I'm used to in the United States. I just don't do these things. So I think it's an amazing experience. For those of us who are listening right now and watching, whenever you're watching, I want to make sure you look right down below. There's all sorts of links in there to find out more about Bernadette, and about her sound healing, and about the essential oils and the mud, I believe, and all those different things that, even if you're not quite ready to take the retreat, you can work with Bernadette. You can work with her one-on-one. She's awesome. She's amazing. I know somebody personally that is working with you, and she just cannot say too many wonderful things about you. So people can work with you, right? Personally. I
am a soul coach. So I've spent the last 2 years studying with James Twyman. And we've been studying the I am that I am, the scripture I am that I am. And I found that very interesting. And so when we do deep breath exercises together, as you and I have done, we breathe in with the I am, and then we hold with whatever it is that we are. So we are fantastic. We are passionate. We are scared. We are all these different things. And then we breathe out with the I am. And that's been a really great journey. So I am certified as a soul coach under the Academy of Soul Manifestation. And I'm very proud to be part of that group. It's in its third year now, so I'm coaching some other students. And I have students I have classes, and I coach one-on-one, and I coach in groups via Skype. And I do that all around the globe. Yesterday I was talking to people in Australia and Nevada and Canada, and it's just so much fun. I've got clients in the UK, and it just...
Well, therefore, the modern technology, right? The fact that we can do this, we are connected to everyone and anyone. It's funny that you're saying this right now, because I just had a conversation with somebody about the whole being online versus taking the relationships offline, but that I still consider an offline relationship something like this, because we're able to experience each other by looking at each other. We can hear the sounds of our voices, the tonality, the how our body moves and all of that thing. And I think it's amazing. I mean, for all the negative that we hear about the internet and for all those things, information, highway out there, I think the positive, and it's outweighs any of the negatives, is that we can connect with people that we never would have thought we could do, because we thought we had to get on an airplane and we had to go somewhere and experience that way. So I'm sure that this has kind of changed, not just the way you experience life, but how we all experience life at this point. Is it different?
I totally agree. What comes to mind is when I talked about going up to this beautiful island and we're toning together and we're in a circle formation. That's how energy forms, and it moves in a circular form and in straight lines. And as we're toning, I can see the shards of light going out to the water and to the trees and to the people and to the air, and it's global. And I've been lucky enough to study with, James Twyman, who's a peace troubadour, and he's going all over the world. I'm talking with people all over the world, and it's all the premise of oneness and peace. And the people, what is that? Oneness and peace. Well, it's everything.
It's everything.
It's me seeing you and you seeing me, and
right.
From that, we discover a much richer life. And it's neat because, as you say, here I am right now today in Canada, and I'm speaking to you, and you're in California.
Right.
How lucky is that?
It is.
How does it get any better than this?
It is. And I actually will not hold meetings anymore unless I can be face to face with them like this.
Yes.
Because there is so much more that I learn from an individual or a potential client or whatever that relationship is going to ultimately be. I see, so I can feel, and I can experience that person in a way I never was able to do before.
Yeah. We say Sat Nam. Sat Nam means I see the truth in you. So Sat Nam, Karen.
Sat Nam. Oh, I love that. Any last thoughts you'd like to share with our viewing audience before we end our wonderful conversation? I want to thank you, by the way. This was amazing. I learned a lot of new things about you that I didn't know before. So thank you for that.
Thank you so much. Great opportunity. When you come to Agape Holistic Retreat, it's jumping on a plane. You get your own ticket. You find your own way down. I meet you. You'll be embraced from the moment you're on island. Mm-hmm. If I meet you in your place, same deal. I bring in 2 other facilitators. It'll always be a 3. Threefold is very important. It's the head, heart, and hands. And I feel when those 3 are engaged, you have a balance. Mm-hmm. And through that sacred geometry, through that, the divine is easier felt and it's easier present. And then I can step out and be a willing participant. So I'm really wanting a simple experience, but a collective experience. And so I learn from everybody who comes and shows up. I teach, and I only teach what I know, and that's what teachers do. They teach what they know, right. And I'm happy and grateful to do that. There's a lot of gratitude flowing, but it is a very relaxed event. It's a party for me, and every time I get the opportunity to greet somebody and give them a hug when they come off the plane, I am blessed. And then I am European, so I love to show people a good time and enjoy beautiful spaces. You'll have your own private room with your own private bathroom. Mm-hmm. 3 pools in Saint Maarten on this property. It's right on the beach. It couldn't be better. I live on the island, so it's very easy for me to have these connections. Mm-hmm. I love the owner of this villa. He supports me on his website. I support him on mine.
Nice.
Collectively, this is what business is. It doesn't have to be the way it's been in the past. And for me, whatever way works for the other person is fine. But for me, I am always expanding. It never ends. And I keep going, how does it get any better than this? So it will be a how does it get any better than this? And you may find yourself feeling some roadblocks. And I'll storytell, so I'll tell you about my stories and become really humble and say what's happened in my life. And if there's a pearl of something that connects, then you can go, oh, then maybe you can just allow it to be and just jump to the next level so you can see, how's it get any better than this? And it will.
Right. Well, I like to say that connectivity is the new currency.
beautiful.
Because
Thank you.
when we exchange ourselves.
Yes, yes, yeah. We become vulnerable, and through that vulnerability, you're going to learn and expand. And so one of the things I haven't touched upon is there are DNA activations that happen. You become a fuller, richer person than you were. And you have more knowledge and more ability to expand. And so it's an all-inclusive time once you show up, and the food and the experiences are all part of that. If you choose to come early, as many do, and play on the island, and I can set you up with lots of things, from beautiful boat trips and luncheons and sailing and trapeze off to the flipping and out into the water. And it's just, you'll pinch your cheek and say, oh my gosh, this is how people live.
This is how people, they're going to want to move.
Why don't
you
want
to move? Exactly.
That's what I did. Why don't you want to just try something different, and then also come home experiencing more of yourself? And people will say to you, what happened to you? I get a lot of that. People are saying, I've lost weight. My relationships have changed. Some of them have changed, and they just are not together anymore, because you're passing another level of yourself to your highest of what is in your best interest. And not to say one's good or bad, right or wrong. It's just you're in a different state now.
Absolutely. Well, we've been talking today to Bernadette Davies, the founder and the guide and the passionista, as I like to say,
I love that word.
Agape Holistic Retreat. You are awesome. I hope that our viewers and our listeners are going to really take this all in and click on some of the links down there. Go check out Bernadette's site and get to know her. And who knows, you might decide that this is your time to go and experience this whole retreat. You are amazing. I want to thank you for being with me today. I want to thank our viewers. We know that you have a choice as to how you spend your time. Thank you for spending it with us.
Very nice.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.